Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. Welcome to Night School. Every night, Monday to Friday at 9 o'clock Eastern time here on the channel, we do something called Night School. It's not a TV show. It's not a podcast. It is a global classroom. We break down the biggest ideas, the hottest conversations, but we don't do it in a superficial way. We break it all the way down. And tonight, we got a couple things that we absolutely have to talk about. Let's start, of course, with President Biden. For the last few weeks, as you know, President Joe Biden has been planning to attend the Morehouse graduation, the commencement ceremony of the esteemed HBCU, where he will be giving the commencement address and receiving an honorary doctorate. Now, there's all kinds of reasons to be irritated by this, and I've been irritated by it from the beginning. Reason number one, Morehouse College purports itself to be in the image and likeness politically, philosophically, socially as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They have a King Chapel. They have a big statue of King when you attend Morehouse, as I did for some years in college, and I was a faculty member there. When you go there, you can feel the energy of Dr. King all up in the building. And yet, they don't seem to be following, as an administration I'm talking about, the legacy of King when it comes to speaking against war, the legacy of King when it comes to speaking truth to power, the legacy of King when it comes to posturing oneself in a way that allows you to speak uncomfortable truths, unpopular truths. That's what you're supposed to do if you in the King tradition. So when they announced that they're going to have Genocide Joe in the building, it was a little bit of a head scratcher. Many Morehouse alum didn't like it. Some loved it, but many didn't. The students definitely didn't love it. And so there was talk of protests. There was talk of walkouts. People were trying to figure out how to respond to Joe Biden. And the faculty, to their credit, tried to push back. So many people in the Morehouse faculty said, wait a minute, this isn't the way to go. In fact, earlier in the week, they even had a vote to see if they could give him the degree. It was like, look, we're not going to disinvite him. The president of Morehouse made that clear. But maybe we could just not give him the degree as a symbolic gesture. Well, the faculty got overruled by the mainstream middle-of-the-road handkerchief head faculty. And so they gave him the award and he gave the speech. But we were still hoping, wishing, waiting for some action at the commencement. What would happen? Would the students walk out? Would they protest? Would they turn their backs to him? What would happen? Well, when you get to the actual commencement that morning, and again, congrats to all the Morehouse graduates. I'm so proud of you, my sons. I'm always excited to see all HBCU graduates graduate, but Morehouse has a special place in my heart. Some of them, when you got there was so much energy there. There was excitement, there was tension, and it was great to see how many of the students did stand up and turn their backs. How many people did have keffiyeh around their necks, the Palestinian kind of symbol around their necks as President Biden spoke. It was great to see so many students push back against the administration's choice to continue to invite a man, Joe Biden, who isn't just prosecuting a genocide let me take that back. Netanyahu was prosecuting a genocide in Gaza. Biden is enabling a genocide in Gaza. But it's not just that. This is one of the architects of the crime bill. This is one of the architects of three strikes. This is one of the architects of some of the most draconian and harmful public policy in Black people's history here in America, post-slavery. It's indefensible, it's unjustifiable, and yet they tried to defend the indefensible at Morehouse, and it didn't work. All it did was make Biden look worse. All it did was make the bourgeois ruling class look worse. They were trying so hard to get in the White House, to be all in the videos, that they lost sight of the fact that they were undermining their own mission. This is exactly the problem of the Black middle class too often. We get excited just to be in the room. We want to be close to power, even if that power is being used against us. This was a shameful moment. And even when you watch the students stand up and turn their backs, or when it was time to applaud President Biden, the graduates sat down. But when you look on the left side of the field, you're going to see some Negroes with hats on. Those are the alum. and they stood up and cheered. Some of that is just decorum. Some of that is just respectability. But a lot of it is Negroes still believe in this place. They still believe in this country. They still believe in this party, Democrats. They still believe in this country. Don't make a whole lot of sense, but it don't take a lot to make some folk do stuff that don't make no sense. Anyway, one of the highlights for me, though, in addition to the kids turning their back, in addition to the public outcry against Biden, was the valedictorian. This young man did his best to challenge President Biden for his policy and to demand justice. Listen to what he said.
It is my stance as a Morehouse man, nay, as a human being, to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Hear the people of this world sing the song of righteous justice. Thank you.
That's how you do it. He said, as a Morehouse man, I call for an immediate ceasefire. As a Morehouse man, I call for a ceasefire. He's tying the tradition to peace. He's tying the tradition to justice. He's tying the tradition to speaking out, even when it's difficult. You know how hard it is to be 21, 22 years old, critiquing American foreign policy in front of the president? The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, speak the truth, even if your voice shakes. This young man did it, and his voice didn't shake. He was strong. He was powerful. And he did what so many others refused to do. People in the Biden administration, people in Biden's White House, that is to speak up and speak out. Now, Biden stands up later, and he does all the things that Democrats do. He's like a poor man's Bill Clinton. He smiled, he laughed, he made black jokes. You all know the story of Morehouse, but let me tell it for these white people. That's the subtext. He said one day a Morehouse man is going to be a president, but not before an AKA from Howard trying to get some D9 love. You know, Negroes love when a white person knows something about black culture. He said, AKA, he knows Howard. Oh, we love him because he sees us. No, knock it off, y'all. But this is what happens. He's saying all the things, but he does also do something else quite interesting. He does something else quite interesting. Biden speaks on Gaza. Biden speaks on Israel. What does he say? He says, what's happening in Gaza, I'm quoting him now, what's happening in Gaza is heartbreaking. What's happening in Gaza and Israel is heartbreaking. Hamas's vicious attack on Israel, killing innocent lives and holding people hostage. I was there 9 days after. Pictures of tying a mother and daughter with a rope, pouring kerosene on them. So he starts by just breaking down this whole incident, not as an outgrowth of decades of bombardment and siege in Gaza, or decades of illegal occupation, or a century of settler colonialism. No, he starts it on October 7th, right? And I'm not surprised. That's what a lot of these middle-of-the-road politicians do. And it's all right to condemn Hamas for October 7th. Look, I disagree with and condemn Hamas for October 7th, but he starts there. And he starts telling the most vicious and gruesome, grotesque stories about what Gazans are, or what Hamas did to Israelis, allegedly. But he frames it in a way that makes one seem like an unfortunate consequence and another a product of people's gruesomeness. Let me be clear. He says Hamas's vicious attack on Israel. He talks about the kerosene and the burning and the this and the that. And then he says innocent Palestinians caught in the middle of this, men, women, and children killed or displaced in desperate need of water, food, and medicine. So what happened to Israel was a result of a vicious attack. What's happening to Hamas is just innocent Palestinians caught in the middle, as if Israel's attacks aren't vicious, as if Israel isn't strategically denying access to food, clothing, and shelter, as if Israel isn't bombing schools and churches and mosques, as if Israel isn't denying people access to water, food, and medicine, as if Israel hasn't destroyed hospitals, as if Israel hasn't struck down innocent people like World Central Kitchen who are just trying to do humanitarian aid work, like Israel hasn't killed innocent Palestinians Palestinians lined up in places like the Kuwaiti roundabout, just lined up unarmed, trying to get food from a truck. But he doesn't frame it that way. So he's setting the table up with a lie. Then he says something else. He said, that's why I have called for an immediate ceasefire. An immediate ceasefire to stop the fight. Now Negroes are just cheering. Negroes are just clapping, scratching where they don't itch and laughing when they are not tickled. Okay, you call for an immediate ceasefire. Fine. Fine. What good is it to say you're calling for a ceasefire if you just sent them billions? And if you're encouraging the sending of more billions? You see, that's the dishonesty, right? It would be like if I set a house on fire and said, I'm calling for the fire to be put out, and I just keep throwing kerosene on it. Put this fire out, and I keep throwing kerosene on it. Put the fire out, pour more kerosene. Yes, I am immediately calling for a permanent extinguishing of this fire, but my actions are undermining my words. You keep sending the money. You keep sending the weapons. You keep allowing them to be absolved of any kind of international accountability, President Biden. You are the problem. So please don't tell me that you call for an immediate ceasefire. That is so dishonest. You do everything you can to support this genocide. And speaking of that, let's move to something else that's adjacent but different. Let's talk about the ICC, because just today, the International Criminal Court has announced that they are filling out applications. They have filled out applications for arrest warrants for members of Hamas and for Benjamin Netanyahu. A statement was made, in fact, today from Karim Khan. Karim Khan is the ICC's prosecutor, and he has very clearly said that he's completed an application for arrest warrants for crimes due directly to the October 7th and post-October 7th war in Gaza. Now, let's be clear. He filled out applications for Netanyahu and for Hamas, but nobody cares about the Hamas part. What do I mean when I say that? I mean, nobody's outraged that Hamas is getting criminal court applications filed or warrants filed against them. I would argue they deserve them. And most people would argue that they deserve them, right? Yahya Sinwar, who's the head of the Islamic resistance movement, that's what Hamas means in Arabic. Mohammed Diab Ibrahim al-Masri, he's the commander-in-chief of the military wing of Hamas, also known as Al-Qassam brigades. And then Ismail Haniyeh, who's the head of the Hamas political bureau. He says that they bear criminal responsibility for war crimes. War crimes. And this is important because every time I've said that Netanyahu is guilty of war crimes, people say, well, what about Hamas? Hamas is guilty of war crimes too. It's just nobody's disputing that part. That was the easy part. Extermination as a crime against humanity. Murder as a crime against humanity. These are both, against the Rome Statute. Taking hostages as a war crime. Rape and other acts of sexual violence as crimes against humanity. Torture as a crime against humanity. Other inhumane acts as a crime against humanity. Cruel treatment as a war crime. Outrages upon personal dignity as a war crime. These were the charges against the members of Hamas. Nobody's outraged by that. And they shouldn't be. So that ain't the good part. That ain't the good part. And when I say the good part, I mean the part that required effort, the part that challenged common sense, the part that challenged what mainstream media outlets have been lying to y'all about. They also filed them charges against Netanyahu. In the same letter, he said, I have reasonable grounds to believe that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, and Yoav Gallant, the Minister of Defense of Israel, bear criminal responsibility for the following crimes against humanity and war crimes committed on the territory of the state of Palestine in the Gaza Strip. So he said they're guilty of war crimes too. Starvation of civilians as a method of warfare. Told y'all, willfully causing great suffering or seriously bodily injury or health contrary to Article 8 or cruel treatment as a war crime. willful killing contrary to Article 8, or murder as a war crime contrary to Article 8. Intentionally directing attacks against a civilian population as a war crime. Extermination and or murder contrary to the articles, including in the context of death caused by starvation. Persecution as a crime against humanity and other inhumane acts. So everything I've been telling you, everything the left has been telling you, the real left, everything that the pro-Palestinian movement has been telling you, everything that human rights organizations have been telling you, these are war crimes. These are crimes against humanity in the International Criminal Court, which is different than the ICJ. The ICJ, the Hague that we've been seeing coming out of the UN, that is a different body who doesn't deal with the issues connected to war. This stuff begins on October 8th for Netanyahu. It begins on October 7th for Hamas. Again, what we've been saying, Hamas committed crimes on October 7th, and Israel's response is also criminal. So they got some arrest warrants coming for you. Now, we've seen arrest warrants before, and we'll be covering this all week, all month, however long we got to cover it. So we'll be breaking this down in greater detail. But please understand that these warrants are real. And if Netanyahu pops up in the wrong country, he will get snatched up. Now, the truth of the matter is, of course, many countries don't respect this. If Netanyahu came to the United States, he wouldn't get arrested. If Netanyahu went to Canada, he wouldn't get arrested. If he went to Germany or France or a million other places, he wouldn't get arrested. But as Vladimir Putin, what happened when he showed his behind to the southern part of Africa? He had to get out there running. We gotta be honest about this stuff, but we also have to be consistent. And too often the ICC has been the ACC. It hasn't been the International Criminal Court. It's been the African Criminal Court. We only lock up African leaders, but now we have an example of Netanyahu being locked up or being charged, and that is exactly what needs to happen. But guess who came out defending Netanyahu? Genocide Joe. That's right, Joe Biden, the same person who just went to Morehouse and said, yo, I am for peace. I am for justice. I want this thing to end. That same guy said the ICC is wrong for charging Netanyahu, basically saying that Israel hasn't committed any crimes that are punishable. Well, Joe, if you believe that, then you ain't got eyes. I know you were asleep during the graduation, but I know you're awake right now, Mr. President. Pay attention to the records. Pay attention to the evidence. This is obvious. And my frustration with this is he's publicly acting as if he's doing all he can to stop this. Not only is Netanyahu guilty, Joe Biden is probably guilty too of war crimes, of complicity. When you start giving people weapons and money, knowing what it's going to do, then you are complicit as well, according to the conventions on genocide. So if you believed any of them crocodile tears at Morehouse College, less than 24 hours later, his defense of Israel and his critique of the ICC is evidence that he don't give a damn about Palestinians, and he don't give a damn even about pretending to longer than a day and a stupid speech at Morehouse. I got more to talk to y'all about. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Diddy and his apology, which has a lot of people upside down and not in a good way. Stay right here. Welcome back to Night School. This weekend, everybody's timelines got hit with a surprise. If you were on IG, Instagram on Sunday morning, you got a note from Diddy's timeline, and he said something that a whole lot of people didn't expect. I'm sorry. Check it out.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life, but sometimes you got to do that. I was f***ed up. I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
So Diddy, as you know, was responding to the video that was leaked or released anyway on Friday, showing him brutally beating Cassie in a hotel. On Sunday, Diddy comes out with an apology. The question for many people, though, is why? Well, I think the answer to that part is kind of obvious, kind of easy. He apologized because he got caught. If you listen to his words, He says, my behavior is inexcusable. My behavior was wrong. I make any excuses. I'm not asking for forgiveness. He said all the things, right? These kind of paint by the numbers, publicist-driven apologies. But the problem with the apology was it didn't come after the lawsuit. It didn't come after the allegation. It came after the video was released. In other words, before there was video, Diddy was still standing 10 toes down saying, I didn't do it. Remember that Instagram post I posted on the channel a couple days ago where Diddy said, I deny all of this, basically. He said all of it is a lie, and he did what all celebrities do. The truth will come out. All these stupid prophecy-driven, you know what I mean, messages that make it sound like they got some cryptic truth that's going to creep up from out of the universe. The truth is going to come out in the light. The darkness is going to turn the light, and it'll all be revealed. They all start talking about like old church grandmoms. And no one really believed them except the people who had an investment in believing them, people who want to believe that what Diddy said was true because they want to be Diddy, or they are Diddy, or they dream about being Diddy, right? It's the same people that forgive Donald Trump, or it's the same people who vote for Donald Trump, rather. It's the same people who believe that the key to freedom is to be a powerful white man. Those people wanted to believe Diddy. And so they would co-sign, oh, yeah, the truth's going to come out. Like Cassie just lying. Cassie just won. All these attacks on Cassie's character. And then the video comes out and those people went radio silent.
And I hit rock bottom.
And he says, I hit rock bottom, which is interesting because he's also saying, I don't make any excuses. Right? He comes out with the Russell Simmons in Bali background looking like he hiding from extradition. Then he comes out and says, I don't make any excuses. I was effed up. I was at rock bottom. No excuses. I was really on drugs. That's the implication. I went to seek help. I'm glad he went to seek help. That's the right thing to do. And that's what T.D. Jakes said in his sermon on Sunday. Seek help. He was talking to Diddy, but he didn't say Diddy's name. But he was clearly talking about Diddy. All that is good. I'm not mad at Diddy for saying that he's wrong. I'm not mad at Diddy for seeking help. But let's not pretend this is an apology. This was nothing like an apology. He spent the last 7 months dragging Cassie's name through the mud by saying she was lying, by having his lawyer say she was lying. And today, he didn't say, hey, I'm sorry I lied. He didn't say, I'm sorry, Cassie. He didn't even say Cassie's name. He didn't say, I'm sorry, Cassie. He didn't say, I'm sorry for lying. He didn't say, I'm sorry. He didn't acknowledge he was lying. He didn't say, I'm sorry for making Cassie look like a liar. He gave a generic, empty, I'm sorry, with no meaning attached to it. That is not what an apology is. This is the anatomy of an apology. I'm sorry. Here's what I did. Here's why it was wrong. Here's how I'm going to make amends. Please forgive me. That's the anatomy of an apology. He didn't do those things. He basically got caught on tape and gave, like I said, a publicist written piece, except the problem is no crisis management specialist, no publicist would tell him to do it like this. He just ended up looking worse. Nobody forgave him. Nobody believes him. Because 1 second before that video came out, you were still saying it was all going to come out in the light. So now you just look worse. I'm hoping that this gives Cassie some, what's the word? I hope Cassie feels better about this. I hope Cassie gets some justice out of this. I hope Cassie sleeps better. And I hope all the people who harassed Cassie and lied about Cassie, lied on Cassie, didn't believe Cassie, disrespected Cassie, also feel like complete fools. And maybe they apologize to Cassie as well. I suspect we've seen not the last of Diddy, but I don't know if he recovers from this. I just don't know. I don't think he will, but we live in a society that gives third acts, fourth acts, 10th acts, 50th acts, especially the men, especially the rich, powerful men. So it would not shock me to see if Diddy comes back, that a lot of people are looking to forgive and forget that any of this happened. The challenge is, unlike some people who have gotten into all kinds of trouble, Diddy, one now has video evidence. Diddy is chased by lots of stories. Diddy's also being chased by these homophobic jokes and claims and all this other stuff. So hip hop may have an investment in pushing him out on top of this. In fact, You know what? I won't say that. I'll just say it's interesting how this is playing out. We're going to continue to cover it. But again, my love goes to Cassie. My support goes to Cassie. But let's not even call this an apology. It's just not. One other thing that I want to say before I go, things have gotten so bad for Diddy that even Eric Adams has jumped ship. This weekend, Eric Adams, while on a TV news interview, he says he is strongly considering taking back the key to the city that he gave to Diddy in September of 2023. That's just like 8-9 months ago. Diddy was at the top of the world, and Eric Adams was there giving him a key. Now, Eric Adams is what we call a celebrity effer. I won't use the profanity, but he's somebody, he loves being all in the videos. He loves being a celebrity, and he loves being around celebrities. He follows celebrities. So if Eric Adams is throwing you away, if Eric Adams saying, give me the key to the city back, and it's just a symbolic key, don't open no door. If Eric Adams is doing that, you're probably not doing well. Why would Eric Adams do this? Well, because Eric Adams is like everybody else right now. They're running from Diddy. The companies have run from Diddy. The board members have run from Diddy. The politicians have run from Diddy. The other celebrities have run from Diddy. Ain't nobody standing near Diddy except maybe King Los in that video we saw when TMZ ran up on him. And of course, his children, his family. And so the fact that Eric Adams, instead of saying nothing, is saying, I might take the key back. And Eric Adams is the last person you would expect to do that because he ain't got that much integrity. The fact that that's happening tells you that Diddy might be worse off than you might think. So I don't know what to make of it. I don't have any predictions about this other than to say, again, if Diddy's going to come back, he's got a long road ahead. And I hope that if he does come back, it's not because of some PR magic, but because he's actually done the work of growth and healing and repair for all the people who have been harmed. If he hadn't done that, then I hope it never happens, key or no key. Anyway, family, I want to thank you for watching Night School tonight. Everybody, I love y'all and I support y'all so much. And thank you for supporting me, more importantly, because y'all are the reason why I am here. It is an absolute pleasure to be here every single night. And I want you to know that I'm grateful for everything that you do, including hitting that like button. If you haven't hit the like button tonight, hit that like button because we are independent media. And independent media, we don't get the love on the internet without your support. Corporate media takes it all over. And the only way the algorithm shows us love is when you show us love by hitting that like button. And also when you hit that subscribe button. We are building an independent media channel that can fight for us and with us. But to do that, I need you to hit the subscribe button and that little bell right there next to it. You can get updates all the time about the content that I put out. And finally, if you're so inclined, please hit that join button. Every single month, when you hit the join button, you offer financial support to the channel. I don't have a billionaire writing checks to me. I don't have a corporate media outlet underwriting me. I do all of this right here on my own. If you want to see a bigger studio, if you want to see more hosts, if you want to see more programming, if you want to see more original content, if you want to see documentaries, if you want to see Princess get some extra fries with her value meals, please send something to the channel. You can hit the join button, of course. As low as $3.99 a month, you can be a supporter of the channel. It goes all the way up from bronze to diamond. We're grateful for all of it. Or if you don't want to make a monthly commitment, you can go to Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle. All the platforms are there with the proper information, and you can make a one-time donation. We would be so grateful. If everybody watching right now, if everybody watching live right now were to just donate $5, if you were to just go to Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle and do $5 right now, we would be able to meet all of our financial goals for the week. If everybody watching right now were to just do $5, we could meet our weekly financial goals. That would be amazing. But if you can't do that, money ain't everything. Just keep hitting the like button, keep hitting the subscribe button, and keep sharing the content and spreading the word about Night School. We're going to be here every day, Monday to Friday. Again, it is not a podcast. It's not a TV show. It is a global classroom. Make sure you show up present. See you later. Peace.